go off. Their target was 11 trains. They did it on 3/11. In Spain, in the United States, we call it 9/11. They have a thing in Spain they call 3/11. They're 9/11. Then in 2005 in London in the UK, there were more bombs put into trains. That happened on July 7th, 7/7. In England, they call that event 7/7. I sensed 9/11 was a precursor to rapid coming changes. I don't know why I felt that, probably with all of the other studies I did, but I felt that was a precursor to coming changes. My determination to understand the significance of 11s intensified because of this event. It was so obvious to me and to people around me that I felt that the timing of this and the significance of the 11s had a greater significance. Like what I found here. Chapter 6 is called God's First Man and First Son. I started studying historic September 11th dates because I felt if September 11th was significant, then there's probably some significance to this date in the past that can almost confirm that this is an important date. So started studying those dates. I came across a gentleman called Dr. Ernest Martin. He's an historian. And based on celestial charts and alignments, he calculated that Jesus was born on September 11th, 3 BC. By the way, that book was written in 1976, 25 years prior to 2001. That was, for me, a wow moment. You're going to see a bunch of things that say a wow moment. That was a wow moment for me. Research revealed in a 1976 article, it was then his research was published in a book called The Birth of Christ Recalculated, and in 1981 the book was republished again entitled The Star That Astonished the World. Dr. Martin died in 2002. I spoke to the family of Dr. Martin, and actually they called me because of September 11 News, because this is on my site. And we had a very good chat, and Dr. Martin's family is absolutely convinced of his work. Also found another special date. On September 11th, 1999, the Jewish calendar became 6,000 years old, and 9/11 is celebrated, September 11th is celebrated as the anniversary date of the creation and birth of Adam, the first man. So we've got an historian saying that Jesus was born on September 11th. We have the Hebrews saying that Adam was born on September 11th. In fact, they even celebrate that day as his birthday, September 11th. I'm starting to feel there's more to this September 11th thing than 9/11, when you've got God's first man and God's first son are now showing as perhaps being born on 9/11. On 9/11. God's first man and first son were born on 9/11. The day our modern world changed, this seemed to me beyond coincidence. Then I found more. The first major attack, the 1972 Munich Olympic Games, ended on September 11, 1972. I don't know if any of you recall the Munich attacks. 11 Israeli athletes were killed. 121 countries participated. By the way, 11 times 11 is 121. And 9/11 occurred exactly 29 years later to that event. And for those of you who are into numbers, 29 is an 11. Other 9/11 events in history I've covered. Manhattan, where this first strike took place, Manhattan was discovered by explorer Henry Hudson on September 11th, 1609. So the place where they even attacked on that day, Manhattan, was discovered on September 11th. The construction began on the Pentagon on September 11th, 1941. That's when the other place that was hit, the Pentagon. New York was essentially founded on September 11th. Manhattan was at any rate. And the Pentagon began construction on September 11th. Both places were struck by 9/11 terrorist planes. They were either found or created on September 11th. Other 9/11 terror war events I uncovered. The last battle of the American Revolution began on September 11, 1772. That's the last battle of the American Revolution. It was the siege of Fort Henry. The first day the American flag was used in a battle was September 11, 1777, the Battle of Brandywine. Mormons were massacred on a wagon train. Mormons massacred a wagon train of Arkansan immigrants traveling to Utah on September 11, 1857. Last year a film was made about that. It was called September Dawn. On September 11, 1990, Bush Sr. outlined his plans for the Gulf War for Kuwait to the U.S. Congress. So it was a speech to the U.S. Congress. 11 years later to the day, that's when the terrorists attacked the United States. 11 years to the day. I sensed the 11s were no longer just discoveries, they were confronting. Every time I did something, I felt they were confronting. The more research I did, the more I felt they were confronting. In 2002, after all of this, I joined an auto dealership because I needed a job and I wasn't prepared to leave the city. Found a good bunch of people who had some integrity. 2002, my son's kidney was removed. In 2003, my father died. And in 2004, I went bankrupt. Miserable period. But I'm still here, I'm very happy. Book 2, Part 3, The Final Discoveries. Universe of 11 Dimensions. This chapter is a complete wow moment for me, because in all of my discoveries of the ancients, I had determined that they were convinced that there were 11 dimensions, universes, spheres. They all called them something different. But then I found out that scientists, in a very short period of time ago, are now convinced the universe is made up of 11 dimensions. In fall 2004, I was watching one of my favorite channels, PBS. I was watching a program called Nova, I watch it every Tuesday. I was flipping through TV and I heard, when I was flipping through, our 11-dimension universe. And I thought to myself, as soon as I heard that, was science confirming Pythagoras' concept of an 11-sphere universe? This would become a major discovery for me, connecting 11s with philosophy, spirituality, religion, and science. Brian Greene, who is a physicist and an author, hosted the program the program called The Elegant Universe. Brian Greene, of course, is 11 letters. The Elegant Universe is really a very, very heady talk. It gets into quantum physics, parallel universes, string theory, and many other things that tend to boggle my mind when I try to get knowledge into it. So I don't study it like a scientist. There were 3 episodes in the program. One was called Einstein's Dream, the other one was called Strings the Thing, and the last one was called Welcome to the 11th Dimension. In a nutshell, what these programs were saying, Einstein's Dream, the first episode, talks about Einstein's pursuit of a single theory or formula that explains all things in the universe. It's called the theory of everything. And many scientists today are now working on what's called the theory of everything. One formula that explains everything in the universe. Strings the Thing talks about a universe comprised of vibrating energy or membranes, or strings like a cello. And those are, he's talking about dimensions, they're actually called branes. Now, we shortened it to BRANES. And these dimensions, they're saying, can be side by side. There can be a dimension right beside us here, but they never touch.